Hello everyone, Storm 101 here. Today we'll be talking about a major storm system to be expected to develop beginning from parts of the southeast that will move just along in the east of the Appalachian Mountains. Still a bit unclear of the track of the low, but either way it'll be moving up to parts of the northeast. At the same time, it'll be a rapidly deepening low, has the potential to become a homogeneous type of system. This system can bring a lot of wind, some severe weather, in the warm sector, and it could bring in quite a bit of snow on the backside of the system here as well. We'll be looking for some model data and some of my personal thoughts in here as well. Before we get started on this video, guys, like weather related content, you can subscribe to my channel. We do that stuff here all the time on this channel. Plus, we'll be having more updates on this system here over the next couple of days, so definitely stay tuned for more updates as well. So let's get started about the watch warning advisory display. There's some stuff going on out there. One of the more notable things is that we do have winter weather alerts for parts of the Central Rockies that goes eastward into parts of the Central Plains. Those pink boxes are winter storm warnings, and surrounding that, we got winter weather advisories. In the Northeast, we do have some winter weather advisories, also winter storm warnings as well. So people can see a decent amount of snow out of the system, and that'll eventually be moving out of here by later tonight. And you got some of those folks will be done for snow for now, anyway. Let's go and move on to the first model we'll be checking out. And that's the Harris Canadian. Harris Canadian has a little bit better handle with some of these systems. So we'll check it out first. So what your general setup is going to be, you got a system that comes from the upper Midwest. That's the one that's going to bring in the Arctic front. It's going to have some serious cold air with it. But you also going to have another system that develops along that front as well, a little bit further to the south as well. Somewhere along the frontal boundary, a low will likely be developing somewhere in the south. Watch how this kind of plays out. Eventually, whenever your two pieces of energy do come together, a storm begins to form somewhere down here, maybe somewhere in Alabama. It'll start as a weaker low in Friday night. You can already notice already there's a lot of snow on the backside of this precipitation shield as well across parts, really anywhere from the Texarkana all the way up into parts of Ohio as well. He's even got some snowflakes possibly as far southwest as parts of Texas as well, which is very interesting. Not really expecting accumulations that far south of this system. But look what happens here. Our low begins to develop somewhere in here. I know it shows a low up here, but reality, it's going to be somewhere down here in the parts of Alabama and Georgia. You will start to see this low here rapidly deepen as it moves just east of the Appalachian Mountains here. Meanwhile, on the backside of the low, you do have quite a bit of snow back there, and there will also be quite a bit of cold air. At the same time, though, that cold air will bring in some dry air, so we do have to pay attention to that potential for some dry air, on the backside of the system as well, because if the models underestimate the dry air, that could lead to lower snowfall amounts. That's another thing to watch for as well. But either way, with a little more dry air or not, this still could be a big system for the Northeast. So you can see how it rapidly deepens, which from this model here, it wants to deepen about 2 millibars per hour. And that's definitely an indication of a bomb type of cyclone here. And whenever that occurs, it's going to produce a lot of wind. Anytime we have very close isobars here, really all the way around the system here, we got pretty close isobars here. It's going to be quite a wind maker as well. And that's also an indication that we could see that potential for near blizzard conditions on the backside of the slope here as well for parts of the northeast as well, because as it rapidly deepens, it's going to create a lot of wind as well. And that can lead to the potential for some blizzard-like conditions for parts of the Northeast as well. Meanwhile, in the warm sector, some of you guys can experience multiple rounds of moderate to heavy rain. Plenty of moisture coming from the Atlantic, but it's also going to be very windy at the surface as well. At the same time, if we back this up here a little bit, probably by Friday night here, we should see some severe weather issues across parts of the southeast as well. There will be a decent amount of instability, and there will also be quite a bit of wind shear to work with as well. And eventually the system here should get out of here by later today on Sunday. Let's check out some other models. Let's check out the latest NAM model run. You can see here, when you look at the pressure bars here, it wants to try to show multiple lows here, but in reality, it's going to be the one that's a little bit closer to the colder air in reality here. So here's your main low finally showing up here. So this is by, if we move that out of the way, so by Saturday afternoon, your low is over parts of Delaware, New Jersey, being on the backside of the low. You got a lot of snow going on back there. And this system will be rapidly deepening as it continues to move to the northeast as well. Eventually, when it gets over to Maine, you're talking about pressure of 970 millibars, which would be a pretty impressive low here. And at the same time, you got blizzard-like conditions going on the backside of the low as well. So pretty similar to the high-risk Canadian here, but probably a little bit further to the east than the high-risk Canadian model as well. The reason why the track really matters because it can make a big difference for areas on the backside of the system here. Here in the Ohio Valley, if you want a good snow, you want this system here to at least ride just along or just a little bit east of the Appalachian Mountains. For areas that's a little bit deeper, a little closer to the coast in the parts of the Northeast, you want this thing here to travel at least along the coastline as well. So then again, still plenty of uncertainty here with the track of the low. And that's really the only thing we got uncertainty with is the track of the low. We know this is going to phase. We know it's going to become a big system. We know it's going to create major problems. We just do not know the track of the low. That's really the only thing we don't really know just yet. Let's check out some of the medium range guidance. Check out the GFS model. You can see here, it wants to take a more eastward type of track, but even with a further eastward track, it's still a strong system. It's going to bring major problems, even in the warm sector, and even on the backside of the low as well. You also want to notice at the same time that it'll be moving very quickly. Due to that, the reason why it's going to be moving quickly, because you got the subtropical jet that'll be moving in. You also got the polar jet stream. When those two merge together, those winds are going to become very strong in the upper levels. So that's the reason why the system is going to be rapidly deepening. And it's also going to move very fast as well because of the merge of the subtropical jet and the polar jet stream as well. If you do not want snow in the eastern U.S., the good news is that it won't be around very long. Eventually, for most of the eastern U.S., will begin to warm up right by Monday. Let's check out the Canadian model, and you can see here probably a little bit similar to the high-risk Canadian. Pretty good snow on the backside of the low. Could be heavy snow at times in the higher elevations. If you're going to live in the higher elevations, man, the conditions are going to be rough on the backside system. Not only you experience strong winds, but you can also experience a very heavy snowfall in those higher elevations as well. It's just similar to the other malls. Strong system, just a little bit different with the track of the low. Here's the latest European model run. You can see here, it's also a little bit further east of the low. It's actually going to take it a little bit more along the coastline as well, which keeps the snow a little bit further to the east. And it kind of makes a big difference here. It's also slightly weaker than some of the other models as well, just a little bit. If you're talking about further eastward low, it's also going to be slightly weaker as well. But if it's farther to the west, it'll be a stronger low as well. Be able to help fight back that cold air just a little bit better. But don't worry, Ohio Valley and interior Northeast, there's still potential for a northwest shift or a northwest trend. About 80 to 90% of the time, models like to trend sometimes, not all the time, then again. But models like to trend a little bit further to the northwest, usually within 24 to 48 hours. So that's why I would not say parts of the Ohio Valley interior Northeast, even though some of them also showing further east, I would not say you're out of the threat just yet. You guys are in a pretty good spot for a northwest trend to occur. That's something we'll keep an eye on very closely here. We'll see if that happens on the system here. There's a chance it will. There's a chance that it may not do that. We'll just have to wait and see. Trends are very important in this range here, especially when it comes to the track of the low as well. You can see there, look over the Atlantic here. Along that Arctic front, got a pretty nasty line of some thunderstorms over the Atlantic as well. And eventually this system here should be out here by later day on Monday. It'll still be very windy for some areas up there as well. That's also going to lead to some dangerous wind chills as well. Not only you have very cold air, but with the combination of some strong winds, that's also going to lead to some dangerous wind chills as well. Here's the European samples. Now, don't pay too much attention when it comes to the amounts. Just pay more attention to where the track of the heaviest axis snow is. And you can see here with the European samples, which is a mean of 51 members, you can see here where some of the greatest confidence or the greatest concentration is where I'm highlighting this in red. So some of the heaviest snowfall amounts kind of begins in the parts of eastern Kentucky, the higher elevations in Tennessee, and it kind of moves through parts of West Virginia, Ohio, good chunk of Pennsylvania, New York, and eventually up into parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, western Massachusetts, and parts of northwestern Maine. Or otherwise, your mean track low is a little bit further to the east with the European sawmills here. Let's actually check out the mean there with the MSOP, which is the pressure. We'll check out the members, see what they are showing here. So you can see here, really by Friday night here, as expected here, it's a little bit further to the east, but there's even other members out there. They're still much farther to the east as well. I don't think we're going to get that far east, if I'm going to be honest. But there are still a couple of members that still takes it along and just east of the Appalachian Mountains as well. So there's still plenty of uncertainty here out there as well. But regardless here with the mean, it wants to take it along the coastline, very similar to the European model as well. Eventually they all become cluster up a little bit better as it moves up into the New England states. Here's the GFS ensembles, a little bit similar, maybe a tad bit further off to the west as well, very similar to the European ensembles. Then again, where some of the highest numbers is probably where you had the best opportunity to see some higher snowfall accumulations as well. And if you check out the mean here, when it comes to MSOP, we're also going to be able to see some of the individual members. You can see here it's probably a little bit further off to the east than some of the members of the European sawmills, but it also still has some members a little bit further off to the east as well. So that farther eastward track is still a possibility as well, but honestly, I think it's going to kind of stay where it is here, at least for the time being. Like I said earlier, there's that potential for that northwest shift, and we'll keep an eye on that and see if that occurs with this system. It's still a possibility either way. You can see here how they become a little more cluster up and stronger as it moves up to the New England states as well. This is the National Resource blend of models here, and you can see here when it comes to some of the heaviest axis of snow, it might be a little bit farther off to the west here, which is pretty interesting as well. Probably a little bit farther off to the west than some of the other models suggest here, which in this case here, it kind of takes it just east of the Appalachian Mountains here as well, where I'm writing down this low here. So your average low track, at least for the National Resource blend of models, is actually a little bit farther off to the west, which is find that pretty interesting as well. This is the SREF. This is another kind of blend of models thing here. You can see here, in reality here, there's a lot of uncertainty here. Pay attention to these members here. This one here is the one that brings in kind of your Arctic front. Pay attention to these ones right down here. You can see here in the mean, at least for a time being, it's a little bit farther off to the east, but there's still a very large spread. You got models that's way out there in the Atlantic. At the same time, you still got models that go along the Appalachian Mountains. So there's still a lot of uncertainty here in reality here. And the track of the low can determine how much snow you could possibly see. That's the most important part for some. At least that's what a lot of people want to know, how much snow you could see. We can't really answer that because of all this uncertainty. That's the main reason why. But this is the weather prediction sauce here. This is for day 3 They don't have day 4 on here. Day 4 would be Saturday, if I'm correct. Yes, most of the day on Saturday. So this is for Friday night. You can see here they got the highest probabilities in the parts of the Ohio Valley. They're a little bit farther off to the west than the other models, which is I also find that very interesting as well. Which of course this was created earlier this morning. Not sure when they update this again, but some of your highest probabilities are actually a little bit further off to the west. So from parts of the higher elevations in northeastern Tennessee, for parts of east central Kentucky, eastern Ohio, up into northwestern Pennsylvania, and some of the higher elevations up in northern New York as well. And this is a probability for at least 4 inches of snow. This is a probability for at least 8 inches of snow, and they got the better focus at least for east central Kentucky. But that's a very low chance. That's a 10 to 40% chance, so that's pretty low as well. But for right now, it seems like the weather prediction center kind of favors a little bit more of the western track than the farther eastward track. But some changes could be made on here. We'll just have to wait and see. Snow won't be the only issue with this system here. Severe weather will also be an issue. This is for a severe weather outlook for today. You got slight risk for severe weather for parts of over Florida, southeastern Georgia, and the parts of South Carolina. They did have 5% tornado probabilities earlier today, which we did have some tornado issues in parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and I believe the parts of the Florida Panhandle as well overnight. But that safe system is moved further off to the east. Got lower tornado probabilities now, but the main threat is still damaging winds. There could still be some hail for some of the storms as well. Tomorrow, there's a marching risk for parts of northern Florida. The main threat looks to be damaging winds. Then on day 3, which is Friday, you got a slight risk for severe weather for parts of northern Florida, far southern Alabama, southeastern, southern Georgia, eastern eastern South Carolina, and parts of far southern uh, North Carolina as well. And I think the primary threat with this here will be damage winds. Definitely gotta watch if any storms develop along that cold front. Those can produce some pretty strong winds with it as well. And tornadoes may become a possibility as well. Even continues into day 4, which is Saturday. 15% slight risk from far southeastern Virginia to the eastern Carolinas, southeastern Georgia, into parts of northern Florida as well. And I think the main threat with this one here will probably have to be damage winds, but a quick spin of tornado 2 cannot be ruled out as well. Let's check out the NAM here when it comes to severe weather. This is the Superset Composite here. You can see here with some of these higher numbers kind of pop up across parts of southern Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, southern Georgia. This is Saturday morning. If we get a sounding in the parts of southeastern Georgia, see what it's showing out there. And you can see here a lot of wind shear with this. There's going to be plenty of wind shear to work with. But instability could be a limiting factor for some areas. Honestly, I don't think instability won't be too big of an issue, which in this case here it's got at least 600 joules per kilogram CAPE, but these models have had a history of being underdone when it comes to CAPE values. So that'd be something else to keep an eye on as well, is to see how the models, if they trend upward when it comes to the instability values or not. And here's getting a little bit deeper into Saturday. Pretty high numbers as you get a little bit further off to the northeast, northeast or south, North Carolina and southeastern Virginia with some pretty good numbers out there. If we get sounding in eastern North Carolina real quick, see what it has up there. Pretty similar, a lot of wind shear, strength to velocity values well over 300, with instability values being over 800 as well. So this is a pretty good sounding as well. And really, the primary threats is going to be damage winds and maybe a couple of QLCS tornadoes as well. So we definitely have to watch for any storms that develop out ahead of that line. Those ones may have the better potential to produce tornadoes as well. 1 and 2 of those could be strong as well. So we definitely got to keep an eye on the severe weather threat as well, because it definitely has a chance to be pretty elevated as well, beginning Friday night into Saturday as well. So it's definitely something we really need to keep an eye on as well. Wind will also be a big problem as well. We'll check out the European model when it comes to wind gusts. This is by Saturday morning. Pretty strong wind gusts across parts of the south. 35 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts out there. And then you kind of get deeper into Saturday afternoon. Pretty strong wind gusts in the warm sector. Look at eastern North Carolina. It's spinning out wind gusts at least 60 miles per hour. And some of that might not be without thunderstorms. That's pretty strong. That low of jet will be pretty powerful in the upper levels as well. And even on the backside of this low as well, can be some strong wind gusts as well. And that could lead to the potential for some blizzard conditions as well. So that's another threat we also need to watch for as well, as that potential for blizzard conditions on the backside of the low as well. Then again, in the warm sectors, some pretty strong winds. The higher elevations will likely experience some of the strongest wind gusts as well. And eventually, the wind should be over with probably by Monday morning as well. So yeah, the system is likely to bring some major problems here to the eastern U.S. But anyways, guys, that's all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Guys, like this video, hit the like button. If you do like my channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, put the comment section down below. Or answer you guys questions. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good day.